In 2006, a 20-year-old university student from Sydney, Australia started uploading to YouTube, posting comedic videos about everyday occurrences and observations, which proved popular as she became the most subscribed to YouTuber in Australia and one of the highest earning OG YouTubers in the late 2000s and early 2010s. This week, an Australian focus from an Australian podcast. Welcome to Rewind Time. This episode, Community Channel.
Yeah. It's rewind
It's
time.
rewind time. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow. Welcome to episode 16 of Rewind Time.
Sweet 16.
A YouTube history podcast with YouTuber Lucy Livin.
Hi.
And Max, myself, someone who has not seen much YouTube at all. As you mentioned in your intro, very Australian theme topic created this week. In case you guys don't know,
If
because of
you couldn't tell.
our general, Antipodean upper class accents, we are from Australia. We are in Sydney. And you were in Melbourne just this weekend.
I was.
How was that?
I was. It was Melbourne.
Australia's second city, I would say, as someone who lives in Sydney.
The first city?
Well, yeah, we literally are the first city though, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Botany Bay.
Yeah, I suppose so.
1788. I wanna
Yeah,
say. 17, no, Australian history.
I'm not really a huge fan.
Anyway, how was Melbourne? How was Melbourne?
Melbourne was lovely.
Yeah.
It was a bit chilly, a bit nippy.
Oh, yeah.
But I enjoyed getting my winter warm coat out.
Mm-hmm.
I felt very smug as I walked around very warmly.
Yeah.
Had some great coffee, great matcha, great food. It was great. It was only like 36 hours. I left at like 6 a.m. Like 5 a.m. actually. I was up at 4:30. I know. Everyone clap for me. I'm so strong as a late night person. And then I came back last night at 9 o'clock. So it was like cool 36 hours. Everyone, I know the most interesting part about my weekend trip was the time codes, time stamped. So now you all
I know you went to see Hadestown. How was that?
I did. It was great. It was so good. I hadn't really seen much of Hadestown before. For those listening, I am a musical theatre fan as a theatre kid, if you couldn't detect that energy through the screen or through your earbuds. You could probably look into the theatre kid to YouTuber pipeline. I'm sure there's definitely some type of connection there. Yes. But I wasn't super familiar with Hadestown and I loved it. All the performers were super talented. And although I did notice, for anyone who hasn't seen Hadestown, there's like a refrain, a motif, a musical motif, if you will, that runs throughout the show where he sings like la 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 la, like a little like melody. And the lead of Hadestown is styled, I would say, in a Shawn Mendes type way. And it may just be that our particular male lead had very luscious curly hair, it was giving Shawn Mendes.
Yep.
But it struck me somewhere through the first act that I was like, it sounds like, because my brain was like, this man looks like Shawn Mendes and it has like, a really beautiful like poppy kind of sound. And he's going la 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 la. And then my brain was like Lyle Lyle Crocodile, the la 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 la. Can you do your best Lyle?
La 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 la.
That was really good. Maybe you could be the lead in Hadestown.
Yeah, I mean, I've already seen the trailer for Lyle and I think my Lyle was pretty good based off that.
Understudy announcement coming soon.
Yeah, this week we are talking about Community Channel, which is the channel run by Natalie Tran, fellow Sydneysider.
Natty T.
Natty T. Okay.
I don't think she's ever been called that.
No,
I don't think so.
That was new to me. But Natty T, and this channel is definitely in the YouTube OG class. As you said in your intro, she came up in the 2000s doing comedy videos primarily. And we actually have seen Natalie in this series already, although we didn't speak about it at the time. Do you remember when?
Yes. When we were doing our famous, most viewed episode, the Philip DeFranco episode.
I would say infamous, but continue.
Yeah. Our Philip DeFranco episode.
Stop, you beautiful bastards.
Stop, you beautiful bastards. When in one of the videos, and I don't know which one it was, but it was one of his like deleted videos, I think.
Yes.
It was like she was being like a babe of the week or something like that.
It was like a joke, yeah. So
it's like an in-joke.
So he obviously Sexy Phil, a big thing about the channel is all the hot babes.
But not anymore.
No.
No.
He's beyond
He's
that. But there's like a joke where he goes to a cutaway and it is a woman who we believe to be Natalie Tran acting sexy, basically.
Okay. When we saw it, I thought to myself, I'm pretty sure that's Natalie Tran. But this was like an old deleted video, so it didn't have like, thanks to Natalie Tran for being in the description, he didn't say her by name, anything like that. And I wasn't like 100% sure because I was not actually a Natalie Tran watcher. So I wasn't 100% certain, but I was like, 1 + 1 = 2. It's probably Natalie Tran. But I confirmed it with my friend Erin. And I'm going to shout out Erin because she's also a YouTuber. You can check her out, Erin Smith, on YouTube if you like journal content and other cool content. She's very talented, does beautiful journal spreads. But she was a big Natalie Tran fan. So I showed her the screenshot and I said, is this Natalie Tran? She said, yeah, definitely 100%. Like I totally recognize the background. So
and the video is deleted. So even if we were wrong, you guys can't fact check us.
Yes,
so.
We didn't include that in the video because, we like to include the members of the YouTube multiverse in these episodes and talk about the connections. So technically, if we were to do a conspiracy board, there would be a string connecting Philip DeFranco and Natalie Tran, but that we have already seen her.
Yeah, but
were you familiar with Natalie Tran?
No. It goes without saying, guys, no idea who Community Channel was prior to this episode.
A little bit.
But we'll get into it. I have actually, I would say by virtue of being Australian, I have seen Natalie Tran in media.
I would say, you say that you weren't familiar with her before this, but I actually think technically you were more familiar or you've watched more Natalie Tran content than I have.
That's a first for this series.
Yeah. And I, as I kind of just said, I was absolutely familiar with Natalie Tran. She, as we said in the intro, is or was the most subscribed to Australian YouTuber at one point. So I'm very familiar with her in that aspect, but I was not a Natalie Tran subscriber. And that is
interesting.
Yeah, it is actually. As we were watching her, I was like, it's kind of weird that I didn't. I think it may have been like an age.
Just went above your head.
Yeah. Or I think I just might have been maybe like too, as some of the YouTubers we've talked about, I've been like, I was probably a bit too old. Like I was aged out of their content. But in this case, I'm like, I think I might have been a bit too young, potentially.
Well, we'll get into it. Because I think it is also a case where the style of content here is quite different to what some of our other original OG YouTubers would do.
Yes.
Because it definitely is more like stand-up in nature. So to give you guys an overview, if you're not familiar with Natalie's, I would say the bread and butter of the channel, it's mostly observational comedy, and it either can be Natalie like delivering that to camera, or it can be in the form of like sketches where typically she will play most of the characters, and it'll be, there's all types of videos that obviously bring up observational comedy. It can be like experiences that she's had. It can be, give me some examples. We have Instagram in real life.
It'll be like things that happen. I think the first video we watched is her experience of like, having a weird interaction at the grocery store.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, it is like that sometimes. So you go to the grocery store and some guy starts talking to you, and then
it do be like that.
And then the cashier starts being weird about, the items you're buying, the classic like, oh, you're having a party or something and you're not, it's just for you. So the kind of the feeling judged and things like that. Like everyday occurrences. There's one about, being asked for directions or asking someone for directions and then them giving you really convoluted directions and you start forgetting what they're saying as they're still saying it to you. Just things like that.
Yeah.
Which are very
I pulled
relatable.
up my notes, things like walking past the cops and you're scared. Things like when you say, don't look at this, but someone's doing X and the person you're with is like super sus. Like,
don't look now.
Yeah. The reason that we are obviously pulling from certain random recollections about these videos is that as far as I can tell, around 5 years ago, Natalie privated the majority of her video catalog.
Yeah, do we want to let's talk about that, because I know we were having a discussion off camera about not just Natalie doing this, but YouTubers generally doing this, because this isn't the first YouTuber we've
Sexy Phil,
a prime example.
I don't want to say or draw really a comparison between why Natalie felt the need to private her content and why Phil did. Natalie herself came in and said, I privated them for my own reasons, and basically it makes me quite anxious that like there are copies of this that are still viewable, like please refrain from sharing them anymore. I think that gives us a sort of insight into why she took them down. Like she was just uncomfortable with the content.
Yeah, she gave some context and some different reasons, like, and it was varied. And I understand this. Like she was sort of like, some of them I think I'm just generally embarrassed by. Some of them I don't think are very funny. Some of them I don't like have viewpoints or things that I don't stand by anymore.
Yep.
That kind of vibe. But I'm interested to know because I think we do have differing opinions on this. And I wonder if it is because one of us does publish a lot of content of themselves online and one of us, I mean, obviously you have a podcast now, but you're not really, like you're not posting TikToks of you doing, you know, the renegade.
What's the renegade?
What do you mean what's the renegade?
It's renegade?
Like the original like TikTok dance, you know, like renegade.
No.
Renegade. Okay.
So I am just kind of like, I think that, and of course I'm not like it should be illegal for people to unpublish their YouTube videos. But when you have a large audience like Natalie did, and then they have like a real affinity and nostalgia for your videos, it's pretty rough to then basically wipe them from the face of the earth, right? And the reason I thought about it was like, so for me, right, there's things that I'm nostalgic for from my childhood, right? Media. So if I put myself in the people who watched Natalie growing up, if I put myself in their shoes, it would be like if for me, someone was like, oh, you can never watch like Toy Story ever again. I think we should clarify that we're not just talking about Natalie. In case that Nat does see this, because, you know, obviously Australians, we're together. We're talking more generally about, there's a lot of YouTubers who do this. There's plenty of YouTubers. I know one YouTuber that we haven't covered yet, but we will, but like Alicia Marie, who was extremely a popular lifestyle YouTuber. She privated a bunch of her extremely popular like school routine, like back to school videos. And people were really upset about that. So it's like a trend of a lot of like OG YouTubers or YouTubers who've been doing YouTube for a long time, privating some of their original but also most popular videos. So I guess, yeah. But zooming in on Natalie, but also I just wanted to say like, we're discussing this in the context of like a bunch of YouTubers do this. And as we've been planning for which creators we want to cover in this, you know, per episode, we've already run into with Philip DeFranco. Natalie is like the second or third creator where we're missing a lot of early videos. Like there's a gap in terms of the history that we're trying to cover. And in some cases we're a bit like, or at least for me, I'm a bit like, okay, well, do we still try and find them? Is it worth us like watching them to cover them? I know for Philip DeFranco, and you know, lots of things to say about that, but like people did feel a particular way, feeling that maybe it was unfair that we were watching old videos that he himself didn't want to have there on the internet anymore. And I don't know. I think it's complicated. I am a bit more on the side of the creator in that we are not owed these videos to be public. And, you know, I do understand that people are upset when, you know, their favorite videos get privated and they do have a nostalgia factor. But I do think there's something about not being able to control your image or what like people perceive of you. And I don't know. I do have some empathy. Like I have some older videos that I do think are cringe. I personally haven't privated mine. I think maybe I privated one video, but it's just because it did really poorly, like really early on. Just got like no views and I was like, this wasn't even a good video. So I don't think anyone was really nostalgic for that one. But I don't know. I think maybe if I had said some opinions or things that I was like ashamed of, I would private them. But I am primarily a fashion, lifestyle and beauty content creator. So I'm not touching on those sorts of topics as much. I don't know. So I lean that, and as I've said, like if you want to private your videos, like they are your videos, it's your call to make. But I would lean towards, while yes, it might be personally embarrassing because everyone is, you know, self-critical, and you might be like, oh, I really like hate these older videos, but I'm like, oh, you know, maybe you just put it aside for the benefit of the audience who don't feel like the complete 180 to you about those videos. But I think I appreciate that it's, you know, it's not a subject that we'll come to a consensus on right now.
I think there's like almost a tier system of whether or not you should private certain types of videos. I think if it's like I'm kind of like, if I were Philip DeFranco, I would probably private my early videos because they're actually like genuinely offensive. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, but I'm sorry, but but
okay, that is kind of different.
But like I guess what I'm saying is like I think there's a lot of creators who've privated videos because they're just like it's cringe.
Yes.
Or I look at that and I'm like, I clearly made that video thinking it was funny and I don't think it's funny now.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but people, you know, a million people still clearly liked it and thought it was funny. And then I think there are some occasions where they're making jokes that are maybe like a very, let's just say like 2000s-esque jokes that might not be made anymore. It depends on what it is, obviously. But I think there are some where I'm like, okay, like, you know, making certain jokes are not particularly funny anymore. But I think most people who are engaging in good faith would realize that you're like probably not holding that opinion still. But then that's where it gets tricky,
exactly.
right?
From my understanding, people are not like that. Some people get very upset about old videos.
And I can understand, and this is something where I am very empathetic to the creator. On their back end, if you're not a YouTuber, which, you know, hey, fair enough. But on the back end, you have YouTube Studio. And YouTube Studio is this app you have on your phone. And you have a section there which is comments, and you just get whichever comments are the most recent. And that doesn't mean on your most recent video. It just means whichever is the most recent comment on your channel. So sometimes I get comments from people on a video that I made like 3 years ago, and it'll be something like mean, or like people saying something. Maybe I said something about something that I wouldn't say now, but it's from 3 years ago. Just like an opinion of mine has changed, and someone will be like, "That's a dumb thing to say," or like, "This aged poorly." And I'm like, okay, like I made this video 3 years ago. Do you know what I mean? It's very like, I get comments on like an old video I made about dyeing my hair, and people are like, "You did a bad job of this." And I'm like, that hair is like not even on my head anymore.
You watched the video, sucker.
No, but I can understand though.
Yeah. That's
for me. I'm not a big YouTuber. If I had 1 million subscribers and I was extremely popular, and you're getting comments on videos that you made 5 years ago of people being like,
not funny,
or people
joke.
being like, that's like an offensive joke.
Yeah.
You know, you're using, like, you do like the R slur or something like that. You'd be like, yeah, this is, I don't know if I want people to think I'm like that, because people, as much as I would love for them to, and I like to engage in good faith and see the best in everyone, people watching videos and commenting are not always acting in good faith. So
having said that, we did watch a lot of these old videos because it opens up a can of worms where if you take something away from people that they, you know, find valuable, they will find a way to re-upload or reshare that. And thus there's now this weird, you know, backroom dealings of archived Natalie Tran videos. The channel
black market. And that is where I am a bit like, I don't want to be like, what's the point? Because like you do have to seek them out. But I am like, if you do have a million subscribers and you have such a cultural impact on YouTube and you are so beloved and have a dedicated fan base, like someone probably has downloaded all of your videos and will upload them. So yeah, basically there was a bunch of her old videos. We didn't watch all of them, and I don't know if I really want to like talk about them in depth, because I want to respect, like, we don't need to break it down piece by piece, because we watch them, you know, out of order from when they were published. Yeah, we don't know.
It's also observational comedy. Like, it's not something that is really relevant to the time for the most part.
Yeah, they're quite evergreen, the videos, as we'll discuss.
Well, as we know from our great observational comics like Jerry Seinfeld, you know, that humor is timeless.
But I think we need to also say Natalie was uploading videos from 2006. She was 20 years old. Like, you know, and then she was still uploading videos, you know, 10 years later. I don't know if I would like love to see the videos I made when I was 20 that I thought were like really funny on my webcam in my room. I don't know. But I will say it's interesting to see what has been privated, or like from the angle of, I wonder why she chose to private this, because I can kind of see why she would private some of them, because some of them have that, like, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, that's like maybe a joke you wouldn't make now. But for the most part, they're pretty...
Oh, I don't see...
There's nothing in them.
Yeah, there's nothing I saw where I was like, wow, this one belongs in the vault. But let's get into it. If you go back and look at those old still published videos, you can see Sometimes she'll do like a hand-drawn style of video comedy, which I found quite endearing because the quality of the drawing looks like someone who actually is forced to do a drawing for a YouTube video, unlike some of our Draw My Lifes where either the person's flexing their like art school credentials or I'm like, is this really your hand? Did you really draw this?
Yeah, I mean, these look like the type of paint drawings I have made figures, in like middle school. Yeah, and I respect that. And they're quite good. They're very charming. You can see from really early on, like I can already see from those first initial videos, like why people were so taken with Natalie. She has a very unique voice, and I think it is just because she's also the first Australian we've watched. She has an Australian voice. But yeah, she's very relatable. She has like an awkwardness. And I don't mean that in like a pointed way. I mean like she's acknowledging and very much self-acknowledging her awkwardness in these situations, which is, very charming. As I think some of the YouTubers we watch have a sort of like an ego or like a bravado about them that she does not really have in these early videos.
I think that also might just be culturally Australians.
I was going to say that
less
we have a different
performative than Americans
energy, and not to do this, but like I've actually gotten comments, which I don't know if you guys know this, but even if as an Australian, my audience is still primarily the US. It's the US, the UK, and then Australia, and then Germany. Shout out to Germany. But a lot of my US audience will like comment things being like, Australians are so like not, you guys are so different, or like you guys are like real. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. But yeah, I think there is a bit of a...
Look, I'm not in this world, but isn't there a thing with Australian girlies internationally at the moment? People think the Australian girl lifestyle is like something enviable in the rest of the Western world.
I'm not sure they're talking about me.
No. I just mean...
They're talking about like, no, but like the beach, Australian like beach girlies, like Bondi girlies.
Yeah.
I think are having a moment.
Bondi bubble.
Or like Gold Coast. Gold Coast type. Do you know what I mean? Like Australian girlies who go to the beach and have acai bowls. I do not fit in that bubble, but there's definitely a sense of... There was some comment on one of my videos. Someone was like, there's something about you. You seem very like authentic. And someone commented, it's because she's not American. And I got to...
Whoa.
Yeah, I was like, no comment. But
whoa.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but it's interesting to see a sentiment. And I think that's something that people would probably say about Natalie, not to like compare myself, but as a fellow Australian, like she does, it's a very different vibe to what we've seen so far, and a very welcome one.
Yeah, it's cool to see in these videos Sydney landmarks. Yeah. UNSW.
Shout out to Sydney.
Other,
we live there.
Parks, etc. That we're familiar with, and naturally we haven't had that except for the Green brothers, I believe.
And Ryan Higa.
Yes.
Please.
Sorry.
Okay, every time we do an episode, if I see that they do an Australia vlog, I add it to the playlist just because
Australia tour basically just means Sydney, right? Maybe Melbourne.
No, Ryan Higa was like fully in Adelaide or something. And I was like, this is very random. Shout out to Adelaide. I was born there, so.
Okay, so Natalie, picking up some... success, one of Australia's most subscribed YouTuber.
Yes, she was.
And also in the top amount of subscribed YouTubers internationally as well. So she does a trip to the US, from what I can gather, in the early 2010s. And I pulled out some of the names of people that she said she met.
Let's go.
So the Jib Jab brothers.
Yep. Do you know who they are?
I didn't know who they were, so I looked them up, and they have a full Wikipedia page about like this company Jib Jab, and they've got the brothers as the founders, but it's this content empire with 90 employees, and they did these parody videos in 2004.
Did they do Elf Yourself?
I don't know. No. Did they? That sounds crazy. No, I don't think so.
Oh
wait, they did.
Yes.
They did work on Elf Yourself.
I'm a genius.
How did you know that?
I just saw
Wait, they did a Mad Men partnership? Oh, I'll look at that later. Anyway. But yeah, they're like have an insanely large online presence.
Web 2.0. Creative champions,
And then she met Wesley, Ted, and Phil from Wong Fu. And I feel like Wong Fu we have spoken about in this series already.
Yes. In the Ryan Heeg episode, we covered Wong Fu, which, by the way, go back and listen. The back catalogue's there for you. It's evergreen.
And
like
then two
much
others,
of Natalie's content.
I think I got them right, but I'm not sure who they are. Joshua Bell and Michael Hawley.
I don't know.
You don't know them? Someone listening, I'm sure. If you know who they are, please let me know.
Let us know.
And then also around this time, she is discussing a video competition she entered, and she references how she came second to Venetian Princess, who we covered on a recent episode.
I feel like this episode so far is us just saying people we've already covered.
That's going to be this series.
It's going to be the episode. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. But it's interesting.
You forget earlier on, every single episode, I was like, well, this reminds me of the other YouTube video I have seen by Smosh. So at least my references are becoming
you have
a
bigger pool to reference from. But I think it just shows how entrenched Natalie was in like OG YouTube culture. That she was like really truly one of the original big YouTubers. And unlike some of the other ones where they kind of turned their YouTube channel into like a company or like, a media company or into like something bigger, Natalie has, it's just, from her channel, it's just Natalie.
Yeah.
Like the whole way through. And we'll talk about some particular videos, but the production does definitely increase and get more elaborate, but it's always like Natalie's DNA and her, if they all feel, they have the same feeling throughout, as opposed to, obviously your Smoshes and things like that, where you kind of get a bit more of that gloss or that collaborative.
Well, I think it's more that the content variety here very much doesn't change.
Yeah, true.
Compared to so many of the creators we've looked at who just their channel is unrecognizable when it ends. Like Barely Political that we just looked at.
Yeah,
they became the key of awesome.
Yeah.
Obama Girl, Wild Musical Comedy, the other sketches and stuff they're doing is so far removed from like the parody stuff they're doing at the end of the channel.
You're actually so correct. Natalie kind of just has one format where it's like, and maybe she'll do a bit more of a sketch and maybe she'll do a bit more of like a sit down. But, for most of it, it's just the one format, which is Nat speaking to a camera with some sketches kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, also we have to talk about a really important part of her format, which kind of, I think only recently sort of wasn't included in like the later videos, but the porno music and comments. Because I think and I don't know if this is okay for us to bring it up at this point in the episode, but something I noticed compared to other creators, and I think, as we're talking about Natalie having these relationships with other really prominent YouTubers at the time, is Natalie seems so engaged with her community and her fan base.
Yeah, do you want to explain what this segment is?
Yes. So at the end of the content of the video, when Natalie does her sort of outro, she's saying, anyway, but probably not. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Like, let me know what you guys think. And now it's time for, is it porno music and comments or sexy porno music and comments? It's a section where I believe, and I'm pretty sure it's an iMac, what's it called? iMovie. An iMovie. Thank you. Sorry. I'm not a Apple user. It's like an iMovie stock track where it's like, bow, 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 bow. It's a very famous. I heard the stock music and I was like, I know that stock music. And she puts up all like comments from her recent videos and like kind of addresses them and talks about them and highlights them with like people's usernames and is like talking to people. Like she'll just be like, and then you guys said, you thought that sounded like a good movie and I kind of agree, except da-da-da. So it's like, I don't know, as opposed to just like replying in the comments, she's fully highlighting them, making it a whole segment. And it was like a fixture of a bunch of videos for several years. And I thought it was really endearing. It's very old school YouTube to me. That's like not something you really see anymore, where they'll like pull out the comments. And sometimes it would be like, it would be a 4-minute video and the content or the sketch of the video would be 2 minutes long. And then she'd spend 2 minutes like doing like channel updates, life updates, and then this comments thing. And I thought it was really cute.
I don't know if it feels old school to me because I actually think it's more akin to what YouTube would become, or at least what is popular on YouTube becomes, which is all about subscriber and community engagement. Because early YouTube videos, you're like, it's 2 minutes long. The video literally is 2 minutes long. It's all content. Whereas now it's like people have, this podcast included, very long form, engaging conversational pieces and she almost not tacked it on, but she added that on to her like very scripted, specific content, which makes sense from an audience engagement perspective, but also YouTube naturally rewards people getting more view time. So it's a way for you to get more bang for your buck in this scripted stuff.
I know what you mean, but I don't know if I agree, because I think there's something about it that feels very intimate and like small, because I think once you get to a particular point, it's kind of hard to like pull out particular comments, because you like, just in terms of scale and in terms of like, to me, she seemed to, and even like when she'd like go and do vlogs of like her going overseas, she would include at the end of the videos like, this is someone I met recently. Like I was out and about and we took a picture together, and she'll ask the people to email her the pictures they take and say, it was so great to meet you, you know, James. And I just think that's there's a couple of YouTubers I follow who still do stuff like that, where whenever they meet a fan, they'll, you know, include them in the vlog or the video. Amber Scholl does that. If anyone listening knows Amber Scholl, she's like a lifestyle and fashion creator. She always includes clips of like when she's out and about or traveling, she will always ask her viewers to be in the vlog with her if they recognize her and say hi, which is very sweet. There's something about it that feels very early YouTube to me, because it kind of almost reminds me of like a Venetian princess getting all of her viewers to submit videos for her parody videos. So I think to me, this feels like early YouTube, when YouTube felt more like an insulated community and less like something everyone just watches, except you, I suppose.
Okay.
I don't know. I know what you mean, but
no, good point. So I want to talk about some of the bangers on the channel, things I pulled out. Before we do though, we mentioned that Natalie, basically the content of the channel remains quite consistent throughout. There is a bit of a segue. She does a series called Love Conundrum, which is like dating advice, and you get a bit more of that, sort of like the Porno Music comments. People submit their problems and she gives an opinion on them. But this didn't last especially long from what I can see, not many eps. And then we sort of revert to basically the sketch comedy stuff. And the first one is called Natalie Tran is Taken. And the premise is that she can't get her name as a username on any like social media sites / website. And I think it's, you know, in part due to Natalie Tran being a somewhat common name. And the video, did you find it quite funny?
I did.
Yeah.
But I will say I actually found a lot of the videos quite funny.
There you go.
I don't know if we've even addressed an overview of this episode, but I had a great time this episode.
Yeah, I think people get... I think that it's good to clarify that. But yeah, I think both of us are broadly quite positive about the channel. But we'll get into that with these videos. The only reason, I wanted to talk about Natalie Tran is Taken is that if you Google Natalie Tran now, you get a TikTok of a woman who is maybe 25 and basically has SEO sniped Natalie Tran OG, and she's now like the TikTok influencer Natalie Tran. And this is across all the social media platforms.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah, the first time when we were talking about Community Channel and Natalie Tran, you looked her up and you went, wow, why is she like a baddie? And she's like doing all these dances. And I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Because you were like, we're doing Natalie Tran. And I was like,
I should clarify. I do think Community Channel Natalie Tran is a baddie. Very slay. But when you were describing her social media, you're like, yeah, she's so active on Instagram and TikTok. I was like, that doesn't sound like what I know to be true. And no, this is just a fully different influencer, Natalie Tran. So yeah, ironically, maybe we need, a new video. Natalie Tran is still taken.
Well, it seems like Natalie Tran being taken didn't stop. Admittedly, Natalie, her channel is called Community Channel, which is, and she references it in the video. A very interesting name. Yeah. Not something that speaks to the content of the channel really at all. Yeah. Although there is that emphasis on community.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think. I think that is kind of if you're talking from a marketing perspective, one of the key pillars of her channel or like core components, I would say the community is really key. But we'll talk about that a bit more later. But you liked Natalie Tran is Taken?
I didn't really laugh at these videos. They're just the comedy style is not my thing. I will say there was one video I did find funny, and it is one of the privated ones, so nobody cancel me. But you will get the premise of the video from the title, and it's called...
I don't know if you can
I can't say this? Okay. But guys, it's called Don't Blow the Beep Whistle, and it's a comedic sketch about the appropriate time that you can blow your self-defense whistle.
Yeah.
And, that's something that I found funny, but is privated, so maybe time says that it does not.
I think we should clarify that you don't really generally, and because I'm like standing up to defend my girl, because I think her content is actually really funny. And I've seen a few of them before, but this was like my first time kind of just doing a sit down, like watch through. And I was like, this woman is very funny and very creative. You don't really like sketch or improv comedy at all anyway.
I disagree. I listen to some improv-based comedy podcast, actually.
You do?
Guys, shouting out.
And do you?
Yeah, like basically any podcast with a comedian on it is improv.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Like our friends Tom Walker and Demi Lardner have
yes. Okay. Yeah, big soft titty.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out.
You saying that? I was
hey,
like, I'm not
no,
saying
that's
that one.
fine. That's fine. You just can't say that. You can't say that on YouTube. But shout out to
maybe that's why she
Demi
privated
Lardner. Demi Lardner, Secret Snack, one of the greatest comedic performances I've ever seen. I love you, Demi Lardner. Come on the pod, guys. Are they in Sydney? Come on the pod.
They are. But let's not dox Sydney residents. The thing is, I don't laugh at much, really anything at all
you don't laugh.
that we watch in this series, and that's fun. Like I can still review it for the purposes of this podcast, but maybe laughs metrics not that helpful.
Okay,
but I can still look at it and say like this is funny, like this is not no.
Okay.
So I think in terms of a comedic success element, I certainly think this channel I would say is funnier than the others that we have watched so far.
Okay.
For the most part, on a batting average level.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. It wasn't a laugh a minute,
You were looking at me. I was guffawing.
Yeah, I made notes when you were laughing.
Oh, you did? That's interesting.
Well, you just haven't laughed out loud at stuff non-ironically that often in the series.
Yeah. Well, again, as we've said many times, my sense of humor is broken. So irony and like things being like hard to watch, I do also find really funny. But this was not why I was laughing. I was laughing because I genuinely thought these were funny. There are some really great gags. We'll talk about a couple of them. The people who skip ads, I think we should talk about because that is her most viewed video on her channel. Number one, number 15. But it's the number one video on her channel, most popular, about 8. It's almost 9 million views.
I think it's 8 million, yeah.
And it is basically just a parody of the kind of the YouTube automatic pre-roll ads that you can't skip them. So you can obviously sometimes skip ads, but you sometimes cannot. And this was one where, you as the user, there's like a cursor on the screen. There's some interesting use of SFX here where it's like, you're going to skip the ad and then she is breaking the fourth wall and telling you like, no, please don't do it. And, the gag escalates. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Actually, well, I am about to spoil it for you. So
you can spoil it. It's okay.
I can spoil it. It's okay.
It's 10 years old. No, more than 10 years old.
But go watch it if you haven't, because it's a really cool video. It's very inventive. And I would say also all her videos are quite short and really tight. Like there is never a dull moment in Natalie's videos. Like I think she's really, really edits them super well. I don't feel like my time is ever being wasted. Do you know what I mean? Like she's got great comedic timing. And it ultimately ends, the cursor on the screen is sort of clicking around and clicking things, and that's affecting them in the real filmed environment. She's using some SFX with like fishing wire to like pull things out of the frame.
You know what it gives? And I don't have the exact reference here, so forgive me, but those animated like Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse style animations where the character is like fighting the animator. And the animator's like drawing in stuff or erasing things and the character is reacting. It's almost like a YouTube version in live action of that.
Yes. And ultimately it is, and she's grabbing the skip ad like component that you normally see, and then she has a physical one. She like throws it into a lake. So she's like, now you can't skip the ad. And then the cursor ultimately picks Natalie up and throws her into the water, which she obviously performs in real life, which is really well done and it's very funny. I see why
It broke out.
I see why it broke out because it's a universal experience of being a YouTube watcher. And it's really well done. It's really well executed. And then you have that kind of sketch goes for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. And then the back half of the video is Natalie giving channel updates and kind of giving a bit of insight. So it's like you both get the really well done video. And then if you're a new viewer, I can imagine so many people will be instantly charmed by Natalie and kind of the back half of explaining what she's been up to and like how she filmed the video and stuff like that. Yeah, really endearing. So wanted to give that one a shout out. I also just want to say, while we're talking about views, Natalie's channel, pretty much every video that she has posted has about, I would say, like 1 million views or more. She has probably one of the most consistent channels in terms of view count that I think we've ever seen.
The most dedicated audience, 100%.
I think, where she's got about 1 million subscribers, and it kind of feels like when you're looking at the back catalogue of videos that I'm like, every single one of those subscribers watches every video. I know that's not exactly how it works, but that is how it feels. And based on the comment interaction and everything like that, I feel like that is kind of how it is.
All right, next video. Dinner would be nice. I freely admit, I don't remember what this video is and why we flagged it. But you were like, dinner would be nice. So
I'll be real. Sometimes the way, because it's like sketch comedy, the way that the videos start and how they transpire, it's like the gag ends up in a completely different place. So
this is an influencer parody.
Okay, I remember. So Dinner Would Be Nice is a video that is probably one of the later videos that she uploaded, probably in the last like 20.
It came out 9 years ago.
Okay, well, spoiler. But Dinner Would Be Nice is essentially a video that opens with, I would say, like a classic YouTuber vlogger type format where she's doing like a get ready with me type of video. She's going through different like classic lifestyle YouTuber formats. So she's doing like, I think it's a get ready with me. She's doing like a baking tutorial. She's doing like how-to content, has the cheery stock music, like the form. She's clearly studied like this is the type of format. So she's doing different like girly pop YouTuber stuff. But being, increasingly passive aggressive about her relationship, resulting in her doing a like, hey guys, here's how I'm going to get bloodstains out of, this shirt. And then, the reveal is she, does do a murder.
But not of the person that her husband is presumably cheating with her on. She mistakes a different woman for that woman, and thus the gag at the end is that she did just kill a random woman, which funny.
It's really well done, and you can see why from the way it escalates. When I'm just like, dinner would be nice, it doesn't immediately remind me of what the joke is.
We also watched like 100 of these.
We also watched like so many of these videos because they're really short. Each one, the actual skit of the video is probably only about 1.5 minutes, and we were watching the videos for several hours, so they kind of all, I'm like, let me just recall. But I really like this one. I thought it was really funny. Also, as someone who does make like beauty and lifestyle content, I was like, oh,
I feel seen.
Yeah, I feel seen. Watch your back.
Well, did you feel seen by Instagram in real life? Another video, by the way.
This was, do you know what year this was released in?
I'll find it for you.
This one, I would say from what we watched, this is where I think it's a really great showcase of while the DNA of the channel remains the same, Natalie's abilities in terms of editing and production really step up here. There's some really creative use of props and green screens to execute the gag of this video, which is essentially everything looks better on Instagram than it does in real life. Did you like this video? And did you relate? Are you a grammer? You're not a.
I mean,
you're not big on YouTube. But you're big on the
premise of it is that like Instagram filters are a bit
deceptive.
silly.
Yeah.
And now looking back, it is funny because you look at like the weird like brightening that Instagram filters at the time basically did, and you're like, why do people like this?
2014, 2015, 2016 Instagram era with like heavy use of Valencia, where they're like really washed out. They have like that vintage look on them.
I think it was also just because iPhone cameras were so bad that you had to filter the photos to make something like interesting.
Yeah. But I was laughing at like, I think Natalie here shows some of her current Instagram posts and they are very like, and I say this is like all affection as someone who also did this, but they are so like millennial 2015 core. Like it's like a picture of a mug just like on a bench with like a Twinings tea bag in it. And I'm like, banger, you know, and then you're going like hashtag Sunday.
Honestly, though, a lot of millennials, sorry, not even millennials, a lot of
I was like,
Instagram users are still like that, which is, I find endearing.
I also find it endearing. I remember, it's interesting being like an adolescent at the time of like Instagram's like kind of boom in popularity because I was like 15 being like, I wish I was cool like these adults who post these cool pictures of like pancakes on Instagram. And then, looking back, I'm like, okay, why did I want that?
I think it is kind of interesting though, like social media provides basically children a way to vicariously experience like things that they're like, wow, this is what it means to be an adult, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same as like I imagine watching like Friends did for people prior to social media because they're like, when I'm older, I'm going to move to NYC and live in an apartment. And like realistically only like 10% of the people get to do that. So sorry to the rest of them. But it's like a fantasy, right?
Yeah, I would be following, you know, girls who are in their early 20s or mid 20s and they'd be like, you know, getting a coffee, going to brunch. And I'd be like, that'll be me when I'm an adult. And admittedly, we did do that today. We did go out for coffee.
Crazy.
Oh my gosh, I'm living my dream.
Yeah, I did not have Instagram, sadly, this time. So
wait, really?
I only had Instagram like halfway into our relationship. Do you not remember?
You didn't have one?
No, I only had Instagram like...
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. And that's... Oh,
I got it just before COVID.
You are crazy for that one. Actually, that does make sense because I remember when we started dating, I was like, there's no information about this man.
Yeah.
I knew nothing. And I hadn't like known of you like before. I mean, I known of you through, well, not that we're doing like relationship history. I'd known about you from friends like mentioning you. But unlike my other friends where I'd seen pictures of them on Facebook or like other people that you know and went to school with, I knew a lot more stuff about them just because they were posting on Facebook and Instagram. But
yeah, I really...
You're a mystery.
And part of the reason that I even... use / maintain an Instagram is this very thing where like I am not someone who's like particularly bothered about posting, but I was like, I found like if I didn't have some sort of social media, people literally are like, you're dead, like you're not even alive. So I was like, I have to like barely like I have to maintain one. And I have over the like 5 years or so since I got it, I do find I'm like, oh yeah, you know, it's kind of like old Facebook. It's nice to see what people you are like somewhat acquainted with are doing, major life updates, milestones.
Yeah. Okay. And what was the last post you put on Instagram?
So this is I posted some photos from us in Rome and
when was
those
that?
were from March 2024.
Okay.
So about a year and 3 months ago.
Uh-huh.
So I'm preparing to do a post. I've been telling you about this for about 2 months, but yeah, like I actually feel not anxiety, but I really, it takes a while for me to build up the sort of the need to post, if that makes sense.
So according to you, I just was laughing because you were saying, you know, it's nice to see milestones, but like according to your Instagram, we have not moved to Sydney.
I posted something on stories.
Okay.
Like people, if they're keyed in, they know where I'm located currently. But no, I haven't done I've moved post yet.
Okay. Well,
but I'll get there. There's no hurry.
Yeah,
you know
what? It's so fine. Okay. It's the non-posting BF and plenty of posting GF.
100%.
Yeah.
That's like a tale as old as time. People in Natalie's videos, actually, she does bring up the trope of the IGBF and the IG, sorry.
Try again.
The social media GF and the IGBF, the guy who takes all the content. Because I think in part due to the fact that her longtime bae is a videographer. So imagine helps. Maybe,
yes.
Well, you know, maybe he doesn't, but probably is involved behind the scenes to some extent in the recent videos.
Oh, if you were a videographer, that would be crazy. But it's okay because you're our podcast producer.
Yes.
So it's just as good.
Natalie has a quite established Australian mainstream media career that is not referenced, as far as we can see, really in her YouTube at all, which is so new for us, because like we're used to watching the YouTube channel's content and people plug all their projects.
The Fred movie.
Yeah, Justine's like, I'm doing this awards show. I've got an invite to this red carpet event. Like, it seems like they vlog everything. Whereas Natalie, I think, has one vlog that is still up on the channel. And even that USA trip, it was like she just spoke about having got on the trip. It wasn't like, here I am in America. There are some travelogue videos that I think she did with Lonely Planet that are apparently travel style, but they are privated. So we don't know. But yeah, so the police.
They're coming.
So yeah, like Natalie, I believe, was a correspondent on like The Project, which we've actually mentioned before.
Have we?
Yeah.
Why have we mentioned The Project before?
Because of the comedy news angle, I believe, of Philip DeFranco. But guys, the project is like a half-hour light comedy / news show in Australia, and they got Natalie on. So she was doing bits for them. She has had acting roles. She is currently a presenter on the Great Australian Bake Off.
Yeah, which is just the Australian version of the Great British Bake Off, or the Great British Baking Show, if you're American.
Down under.
Baking Down Under. And would you like to reveal, I think now is the time to reveal. As I said in the beginning of the episode, you have seen more of Natalie Tran than I have. Would you like to talk about this now?
So in the great Natalie Tran content drought of the late 2010s, early 2020s, she was probably guest star. Maybe she was main cast, but she was recurring. She had a role in the Australian crime drama Mr. In Between, which is about a hitman in Sydney. And guys, if you're looking for a TV show, if you like crime / slice of life Australian stuff set in Sydney, Mr. In Between, probably the best Australian television show I have seen in my life. It's a big call because there's not much good stuff, but yeah, I went through a Mr. In Between phase when I watched it.
It was so your Mr. In Between phase.
It's just like I think there's a like an element of like, you're Australian, so you have like, cultural cringe, and you're like, Australian TV is bad, and for the most part it is bad, but that means that when you see something that's actually good, it's like so revelatory.
I'm sure viewers who are listening from other countries are probably maybe not familiar. There's not that much Australian, like.
Well, I think that's why they're not familiar with it, because it is not very good. There's not
that much. Well, no, there are some great.
Home and Away, Neighbours.
Yeah. Look, we don't have quite the same level of, like screen industry that, the States or Europe have.
Yeah.
We just don't.
The issue is if you, as it goes, if you have a desire to make it in film and TV, you move to America.
Yeah.
Where there are plenty of Australians like our, Margot Robbie, Russell Crowe, Nicole Kidman, the list goes on.
I think, there's only a few like TV shows that I can think of that have probably become somewhat more mainstream. But yeah, when you were watching Mr. In Between, that was definitely a period of a couple of months where you were just like, I'm Mr. In Between. And I was like, what are you even talking? I didn't watch it with you. This was BF's special show. I think you were watching it when I was away somewhere. I feel like you started watching it, like you binged like a season of it while I was doing something.
Yeah, and don't let the title put you off. I do think the title is not great, but the show is really good. It's about 18 episodes.
Okay.
So
anyway, but back to Natalie.
Yeah, Natalie plays a role in it. So she is fully doing real acting gigs. YouTube is still coming along, but she doesn't seem to cross-pollinate between the two.
Yeah.
And like maybe a part of the privating the videos is that she didn't want any of them to affect what's going on in her like full-on media career.
Yeah, a media career. Yeah. No, fair enough. But I think this plays back into the cadence, and we're talking about a lot of videos are missing. There is sort of this ongoing gag that Natalie does where she, at the end of the video when she does like the channel updates and the sexy music and the comment time, she also will say when the next video is coming out, or, you know, say like, oh, I'm sorry for not uploading. Classic YouTube moment. You know, Taylor Zola's time on youtube.com is like, oh, sorry, I haven't been here for a moment, guys, or sorry, I'm late uploading this video. Brief aside, I do think it is interesting that YouTubers, I understand why, but YouTubers choose to set a schedule for themselves. But with the amount of YouTubers who, like, they're creative people, and trying to put yourself on a schedule as a YouTuber and publicly announce your schedule to your audience, I would say only about 20% of the time does the schedule work. And I would say the other 80% of the time, they're constantly missing the schedule and then having to talk to their viewers about why the video is not on the schedule. Yeah. Actually, 20/80 is probably not fair. I would say maybe it's more 50-50. But I do think it's funny that, like, you don't have to establish a schedule for YouTube or be like, I'm going to release a new video every Wednesday at 10 p.m. EST time, but it is. I
mean, we have a schedule.
That's true. We have a schedule as a podcast. I think that's necessary. I personally don't have a schedule. I know personally I'm trying to upload roughly every week, but I understand, you know, there are things that, you know.
I think it might be, so there's two parts. First of all, they're trying to establish some accountability.
Yeah.
And that's good. You know, they're goal setting.
100%.
It's just another lever that they can pull to make them feel motivated to do a video.
Look, as someone who's been self-employed, I totally get the need for having a schedule. But go on.
There's another part where, from like a legacy media perspective, you're like, well, the Simpsons is on at 7 p.m. on every Thursday night. So I, as a viewer, am conditioned to want to turn on the TV at 7 p.m. on a Thursday to see my favorite show. And so the YouTubers are trying to establish like this cadence where Natalie is like, new video on Wednesday in the Asia Pacific region and Thursday everywhere else.
I have friends who have a schedule, and it does mean that, you know, that you're training your viewers to be like, Wednesday's Lucy Day.
I do think not ironically, but I do just think as time has gone on and YouTube has developed their algorithm, like all social media is trending towards like revealed preference. People are less inclined to seek out their favorite creator's video at a special time. Yeah. They just watch what's on the homepage and what's in their suggestions, and they just go bang, bang, bang.
As someone who's been doing and uploading to YouTube for several years now, I would say previously you would be more punished for not uploading regularly, whereas now I can not upload in 3 weeks, and whereas maybe 5 years ago I'd be like, I haven't uploaded in 3 weeks, I should almost, if I have a video that I'm really proud of, I should almost upload that, not now, but I should upload another video, like not a dummy video, but like upload another video that I'm not as confident in first, to then get the algorithm going again, to then put the next video up. I don't know if that sounds convoluted, but like, yeah, you would almost be like, I have to be uploading regularly to gain momentum. Whereas now I can have a period where, you know, say I take a break over the holidays and I don't post for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I can upload a video and it still has every chance of doing well as if I uploaded regularly every week. So it really does feel, because YouTube now is just like, oh, if you love Lucy's videos, we'll just let you know anytime she uploads one, we'll put it on your homepage because you always watch her videos. But there's sort of a gag that is ongoing on Natalie's channel, and we couldn't tell if it was a joke or not, but it was basically, as we kind of got closer to the later years of her channel where she's uploading less frequently, it was like every video was ending and she was like, I'm sorry, I haven't been here for a while, guys. I'm sorry, I know last time I said I was going to upload a video a week later and now it's been several months, but like, I'm here, I promise, and I promise the next video is coming. I've already written the script for it and it's going to be out next week. And then you'd see the next uploaded and it would not be a week later and she'd be like, yeah, I'm sorry, guys, I lied.
I feel like this is basically, if you're a YouTube watcher, you're probably familiar with this trope and you're like, okay, yeah, fool me once, you know.
But I think it's funny because initially I was like, oh, this is just like classic YouTuber, like, guys, don't worry, I'm coming back. And then they like just don't come back for way longer. But then she does seem to acknowledge it by like kind of the later videos where she starts making a joke that she is lying, and that she is like actually never being truthful with that, which I thought was good because I don't know if it was a joke the entire time, but it definitely sort of started out not a joke, like she was being genuine, and then like later on she was like, no guys, like it's definitely coming next week, and you know it's not, which I thought was quite charming.
There's quite a few Australian media profiles because Natalie was the biggest YouTuber in Australia, and a lot of them do come from a very like, what is YouTube perspective? And there's one in 2015 where they make a note being like, here's the line, Natalie is the most prolific apologizer I have ever met. So they do make a note of how often she apologizes. And I will say that's a characteristic that comes across in these videos towards the end when she's like, sorry, there hasn't been a video. And then as an aside, this profile, the writer makes a big deal about how he can't use chopsticks when they go to an Asian restaurant. And I was like, bruh, in 2015, you can't use chopsticks? You're a journalist? Couldn't be me. Anyway.
But yeah, I think it's interesting. And yeah, Natalie is not the first nor the last YouTuber to have an irregular upload schedule or to make promises about schedules and not fulfill them. But I think it's interesting that she chooses to continue doing it. I think more is a bit, but just general advice to many YouTubers. If you find I don't know. I go back and forth. I personally don't have a schedule because I like to under-promise and over-deliver because there's nothing worse than saying something's coming out and then it just doesn't happen.
So, speaking of not the first or last YouTuber, she's not the first or last YouTuber to do a 10-year milestone on YouTube, which involves her being sat down and shown a video where a lot of other creators have said, congratulations, Nat, 10 years. I have given you the list of people in the video because I am maybe familiar with one or two, but you are probably better positioned to shout out the people that you think are relevant. I know the Wong Fu guys are there that we mentioned previously, but who else were you surprised to see in the 10 year?
I was surprised to see the Fine brothers. Who I think I've met. I don't know if we've talked about them on the podcast yet, but I've mentioned them a few times to you because they do pop up.
We spoke about React because the React kids were in the Key of Awesome, I want to say. They were like, they were like, we love the Key of Awesome. Maybe that didn't make it on the pod, but we watched them do it. We also watched a React video to a YouTuber.
Oh, Tays on Day.
To Tays on Day. Yes, there we go.
To Chocolate Rain. Yes. They're there. The Fine brothers. It's funny. I don't know at this point if they, a spoiler alert, were pre or post public trashing and disgrace.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Well, you.
I'll learn.
You'll learn. But I thought it was charming. Also, Super Wog.
So does he have like a movie?
I don't. Okay.
You're confused with other Australian Greek comedians?
No. I am aware of this. He is like the guy. I am not. This is like not content that I really engage in. As you might be like, this stuff isn't really for me. Super Wog's content, not really for me. But people like him. He seems like a guy. I don't know. I definitely want to talk about Joey Graceffa.
Okay.
Because Joey Graceffa. Not as of yet. Okay. Because currently we're talking, so far on this podcast, we've mostly covered what I would class as like OG YouTubers from that like 2006 to 2010 era. But then there's sort of the YouTube boom, like 2010 on, if you can class it by eras. I'm sure someone has, put together a more official timeline. But like 2010 on, you have your Joey Graceffas, your Tyler Oakleys, your Grace Helbigs. Grace Helbig is also in this video. Who I think definitely, I don't know exactly when Grace started her channel, but her popularity was sort of later than Natalie's, and definitely I would say she takes great influence from Natalie's channel, and you can see her being like, you're a great inspiration to me, I love your content. And having actually sat down and watched a lot of Natalie's content, I'm like, oh, I can see how many of these YouTubers that I have seen more of or I'm more familiar with. Like I was subscribed to Grace Helbig. I'm like, oh, she actually probably like was heavily inspired by Natalie's format, because her videos are, spoiler alert, kind of a similar vein. Anna Akana as well is another female comedian. There are a couple of other Australian YouTubers. There's Wengie, who
is Wengie Australian?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but I think she's been in LA for a long time. As you can see, she has 13 million subscribers. You've pulled her up on the laptop there. Wenji, I don't even know how to describe Wenji's content. It's kind of
gives Lucy Livin in like 2017
when I had like dyed hair. Yeah. I'm not a subscriber and I'm not fully across, but I because I have like a pastel kind of cutesy aesthetic, like I'm aware of Wenji and her career or her like type of content. I feel like every time I check back in on Wenji, it's like different stuff. Any others that stood out to you?
Yes, I like these guys called Mighty Car Mods, which is just two guys that do like car makeover videos, something that my brother would put on when he falls asleep on the couch. And it's like, I'm just like, how did you guys connect with Natalie?
They're Australian.
Yeah, I know. Oh, sorry. For context there, yeah, I can see like a V8 in the thumbnail, so they are Australian. But it's just, yeah, I didn't think there'd be a crossover between comedy YouTube and car mod YouTube.
But I think, again, how long have they been uploading? Because I think the thing is that...
Years, like 20 years.
Yeah. So if you're one of the first, like, Natalie was for the longest time the most famous and most subscribed to Australian YouTuber. So if you're like the top 20 Australian YouTubers, you probably all know each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think it's, it speaks to where other YouTubers would have more collaborations on channel and we'd be like, oh, this is like their network of, preferred friends and acquaintances.
Yeah, this is their brick crew.
Yeah, exactly. Natalie, the content, we have way less emphasis on the sort of crossover stuff that a lot of early YouTubers...
That's something we noticed. There's no collabs. I don't think.
Not that I can remember, no.
There's one in the people who skip ads video. The special effects, like the VFX in the video, are done by this other YouTuber, and she's mentioned in this video. It's the Amy Yamato. I think. Okay. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this unlocked a memory in my brain. But Amy Yamato is an early example of a VTuber, where she doesn't show her actual face. She is like an animated character, but
cool.
Yeah, she's like a virtual vlogger or like like an early version of a VTuber. But that channel, whoever is behind it or runs it, did the VFX of like the car being thrown across the screen for that video, and she calls them out in that channel. But yeah, you can see she has a pretty wide network of people from various different, like, there are comedy creators, there's obviously car mod creators who all are saying, we love you, Natalie, you're a great inspiration. Obviously all the nice things that you would say to someone when you have your 10-year YouTube anniversary.
And off the back of this, she hosts a barbecue in the Botanic Gardens for her subscribers, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it was like what looks like an open RSVP. And then the vlog, you see all these community channel fans rock up and play games and do Natalie Tran trivia, and
no, I think it's just normal trivia.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's just
I thought it was about
trivia.
her channel.
No.
Oh.
She just made trivia.
Fascinating.
So she does a vlog like talking about how she prepped for the event, and it's actually funny in the lead up to this event, she kind of talks about it being like, oh yeah, if anyone is free to come. And the way she talks about it is as if she doesn't have 1 million subscribers, and as if she's not like an extremely popular creator, because she says it like, oh yeah, and if like no one comes, like that'll be fine. And I mean, I like relatable. I understand the fear of hosting an event or something and no one coming. But I think, again, this is quite charming because I think she says she initially was going to like host it at her home, like at a backyard. And then clearly like, I think over 100 people RSVP'd. And that's just like people who live in Sydney. And again, as I said, most YouTube viewers are in the States. So it's like they're not going to come to the barbecue in Sydney. But yeah, and it's a really cute vlog, and it's like all these people, like, it's really cute. I think, yeah, community events are really special. And again, community channel, community event.
It's almost special. Like, it's not about the destination, it's the journey. And
it's the friends we made along the way.
Exactly. And the community channel was formed by not the end of this channel, but guys, after the 10-year event, there are 4 videos that have been published in the 8 years since. One of them is Dinner Would Be Nice.
Which we talked about.
The one we spoke about. And then we have New Year's resolution police, Christmas lists, and New Year, New You. So there's a very interesting end of year theme running through the most recent videos. New Year, New You was 3 years ago. But I would say, especially the two most recent ones, so New Year, New You, and Christmas lists, there is a bit of a step up in execution for these videos, maybe owing to the fact that Nat is now not a full-time YouTuber, so she gets time to sort of cook these ones. But yeah, how do you feel about our two most recent videos and their productions? And also, how do you feel about Nat stepping away from the channel basically after 10 years?
Yeah, so Christmas lists is, if you open that video and you go to the comments section, it's like, and when the world needed her most, she returned. This is also at the end of 2020, so she's sort of acknowledging COVID and things like that in her sort of section at the end. Something that you remarked upon, which I want to bring up, is that as you were watching the videos, you were like, wow, Natalie does really good character work. In these videos, in Christmas List, I think she plays 4 different people, and they are all just Natalie with different hairstyles and shirts, but she gives them each like a distinctly different vibe, and they all look and act really different, even though they're all just meant to be like Australian women. And she does it really well. Obviously, you know, as we said, Natalie has like a mainstream acting and presenting career, but you can kind of see her talent shine through here. And this video is really good. It's a good gag. It's returning to like kind of the genesis of the channel, which is like observational comedy. And you're pointing to something on the laptop, the research laptop here.
Yeah, the Vlog Brothers commented on this saying the best part of 2020.
On the video prior to this, New Year's resolution police, you know, as you can imagine, a lot of the comments are, Nat, where are you? I miss you. You know, and when the world needed her most, she vanished. She went out to get a carton of milk and never came back, blah, blah, blah. So Nat returning after several years of just not being active was obviously a very exciting event. And then she said something in the end of Christmas List where she's like, don't worry, guys. I'm back. I have another video. And then she didn't.
It is funny though, because it's almost like the 3 videos, it's like you brainstorm them in one session because they're all about Christmas, New Year.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I'll get to it. And then it's like an 8-year process. Or you get like a nice trilogy of New Year Christmas videos. Because yeah, to be honest, New Year, New You, 1 year later, that's a better cadence than the viewers expected at that point. So they should kind of, you know,
cut us some slack.
Exactly.
Yeah. What did you think of this one, New Year, New You?
Honestly,
do you want to describe the concept? Is
it's kind of high concept for her videos. Mm-hmm. From what I remember, it's like, what if when you make a resolution at New Year's, you basically, there's a new version of you created that fulfills the resolution, and the old version of you is like, you know, like severed and taken away, right? It's
kind of like a sci-fi concept. And the concept of this is Natalie is like, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, or I don't believe in the like New Year, New You, like I'm the same person. It's like silly to make this resolution. And the other character is like, oh, like New Year, New Me. And then at the stroke of midnight, she is like tranquilizer darted and replaced with the same version of herself who's like a clone. But then because it's, you know, a great comedy video, she takes it to the next logical step, which is like, what happens to the old you? And it's like they're kept in an apartment with like a creepy serial killery type, also played by Natalie. Spoiler alert, everyone's played by Natalie, who is like, you know, brushing your hair and like spending time with you and feeding you and taking care of you. And then once the new year comes around again, you are just killed unceremoniously, which is, yeah, it's a really, high concept bit. It's well executed. It's very cinematic in the lighting and how it's done. And it is really funny. It's really, really good.
She also shares the bloopers in the description in an unlisted video.
Oh.
And this video has 655,000 views. Sorry, the main video, New Year, New You. And the bloopers has 200,000 views. So for the amount of click-through for a video in the description, I think, yeah, once again, it speaks to how engaged her community is. And yeah, we kind of are brought to present day where there are no videos, as far as I can tell, on the horizon. Natalie is still active though on social media. So it's just YouTube. That is not her primary focus, I guess. And that's all well and good. You know, she did it for a good 10 years. And yeah, she still is it seems a working videographer. She is still with her partner who she met on the project. She is doing the hosting, as we mentioned, for the Great Australian Bake Off,
which is still ongoing. She was in the most recent season, which came out like a couple months ago. Yeah, that's what she's up to now. And like, we couldn't cover because there are actually so many good videos in the catalog that we watched. Shout out to Indoor Plant Serial Killer, which I know is like a really popular one that a lot of people like. I also enjoyed that one. Some really great visual effects there with the plant like dying as soon as she touches it. Really funny. The one where she talks about who measures celebrities, like, you know, when you can Google how tall someone is, and then she does a character of, you know, someone whose job is to measure people and how like weird that is, and like making them a really funny character. She is just, I think, yeah, a real comedic talent. And I am so proud that, you know,
she's one of us.
She's one of us. Did you have any other bits that you wanted to talk about in terms of Natalie Tran? Should we start talking about the legacy of Community Channel and our favourite videos?
Thank you for asking me about the legacy of Community Channel.
Wow.
I think that in terms of, you know, Australian YouTube comedy, she is the pioneer.
The queen.
The
reigning
OG.
Queen.
Yeah. And, you know, from my very learned position of having seen exactly one Australian YouTuber, I think she does a pretty good job of, you know, internationally representing Australian culture, which is quite cool.
Do you think would you say it's a generally good representation of our sense of humour as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, good. Just checking.
But I think I'm pretty broadly positive, as I mentioned, across the spread of videos. I think it's tough because some of this stuff is naturally not easy to watch these days, and that's maybe some of the stuff that I found more funny.
You like the edgy stuff.
Well, yeah. But hey, nothing here. There was certainly nothing that was as difficult or cringeworthy to watch compared to the other content we've watched
compared
from 20
to a regular
years ago.
week for the rewind time prep.
Oh, this was like it wasn't Lonely Island, but it was definitely up there.
It was a walk in the park.
Yeah, exactly.
An enjoyable walk on a sunny day.
Yep.
Yeah. No, 100%. In terms of my thoughts on legacy, as someone, who had definitely seen a few Natalie Tran videos from time to time, but not like, you know, really engaged with her library of content. Natalie here and watching all these videos, I think you will see that legacy reflected as we move forward into like later YouTubers, and you like seeing what she was doing in 2006, 2007. This is like what like some of the, I'm thinking of like Dan and Phil, what they were doing in 2011. And it's like the same format. So I think she really did like pioneer and popularize that format. I think of like Danny Gonzalez or Drew Gooden, anyone listening. And I watched a lot of their content. Like I am subscribed and watched a lot of those people. So I am almost like, I am meeting like the grandfather of the YouTubers that I watched a lot of. And I'm like, oh, all of these people, Grace Helbig, Daily Grace. I'm like, oh, all of these people were definitely inspired by and fans of Community Channel. And you can see that clear influence. So I guess I owe a lot to Natalie for that, for inspiring and, you know, creating a format that I've consumed a lot of, but by other people. And I think she's, again, shout out to Down Under.
Yeah, I think it's cool also that she chose to, and naturally the channel is, I guess, on hiatus because she could just come back, but she chose to really end, for the time being, the channel at a high. Like we didn't have a saga like we have with many of the subjects of this podcast so far, where there's the yin and yang between I make videos I like, no one watches them, so I make videos I hate, and so I don't like my job, and so on.
Yeah.
She really hit 10 years, was still getting the consistent views that she had throughout the history of the channel, but for personal reasons or professional reasons, just
Whatever,
was like,
know.
was like, YouTube, not for me.
Which is interesting because she does personal updates like constantly, but we didn't have the why I left video. So
yeah, know why I left is really like many things with this channel, and I don't know if it's
or where I've been.
You'll be better, and don't spoil future developments for me, but I can't say whether this is like a cultural difference with Australian creators or this is just independent. This is something specific to community channel. But yeah, a real, like as we said, a real distinct lack of YouTube tropes so far in this series on this channel.
Yeah, you don't have the
no vlog, like no real vlogs, no what's been going on, no teasers, just
keep in
just
mind,
content.
We could be missing stuff that might be privated or like I don't know, but a real I'm not saying this to imply that other people don't, but she has a very kind of like a classiness or like a dignity that you're like, okay. Or maybe it's like an Australian, like it's like the not wanting to make a fuss. Maybe that's more of it, like the cultural, like I don't want to make a fuss. I'm just gonna, I don't need to. No one cares. I'm just gonna leave. But yeah, did you have a favorite video?
Besides the censored one I mentioned previously?
If that's the one you like, that's okay.
That's probably the one I found the most funny. But then a favorite one, I didn't mind the Johnny Depp Amber Heard apology video, which is the real footage of their apology, which seemed at the time obviously very insincere and forced, and it's intercut with Nat as if she's behind the camera and she's holding a gun. Oh, the prop gun. Yeah, and she really made use of this prop gun for like 10 years, and it's very funny. She loves the prop gun. And also like for international context, there's like no real private ownership of handguns in Australia. Have guns in Australia. Yeah, seeing her brandish this gun in all these videos, it did tickle me. So I would say that's my favorite unprivated. She's also wearing like a Crocodile Dundee. She's wearing what's the hat? I don't know. What do you call it? Gosh. It's like the hat with the corks on it. The cork hat. Yeah. We should know what that is. Wow, Australian flops. Sorry. We're not representing the community. We're from the city. Sorry, we don't. It's a hat with corks on it, and it's to keep flies from flying into your face. Yes. But we live in the city. We don't live outback. Like 90% of Australians. Like 90% of Australians. Yeah. But so it's quite funny. I liked that one. I also enjoyed that one. My one that I want to shout out, I enjoyed quite a lot of the videos, as you can probably tell from the pod today, but I enjoy Spot the Difference because it has this insane, it's really short and it's just done, I don't know, it's almost like this one kind of gives like a Tim and Eric kind of vibe to it, where she's basically like, it's like those early internet like ads that you'd get, those pop-up ads being like spot the difference, where they're like clickbaity type ads, just like spot the difference, and if you can spot the difference between the two, then that shows that your brain is like functioning so it's just a scene of her sitting in a couch having a cup of tea, standing up to get a book and sitting back down. That's the scene. So she's like, that's scene A, and then it's like, and see what the difference is in scene B. Scene B is like she removes the vase next to her and she repeats the exact same scene, except then she comes back into frame and she's covered in blood and has a gun and she's like screaming and it cuts off. And she goes, anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Could you spot the difference? And I just wasn't expecting that gag. And I thought it was really funny. It's a really funny, well-executed sight gag. And I highly recommend Spot the Difference. It's a great video. Okay, cool. Community channel, episode 16 of Rewind Time. Did you have something to subscribe to this week? I mean, we referenced it at the start of the episode. Melbourne. Yeah, I had a really... Pick one. What about... Or the coffee of Melbourne. Yeah. I was actually going to say a girls' trip. Oh, yeah, because my trip to Melbourne was impromptu, inspired by... my friend who was heading to Melbourne for an event which got cancelled. So she was like, "Oh, I'm going to Melbourne, and like now I'm just doing nothing. Like I can't book cancel my flights or my accom." And then I was like,
maybe spontaneously I can join. And I booked it like 12 hours before, which is not characteristic of me. I'm not a very spontaneous person, and I have an anxious energy that, perhaps Natalie and I share in some degree. So I felt I was like, what am I doing? This is so crazy that I'm doing this. But it was a really good time. So spontaneous girls trip. I'm subscribing to saying yes to things, taking chances, living life on the edge.
Eat, pray, love.
Eat, pray, love.
Great.
Yeah. What about you? What are you subscribing to this week?
Oh, this week, it's a tough one. Yeah. Because I'm still just playing Claire Obscure because it's very good. And I've subscribed to it previously. But if I'm being honest, outside of things we've mentioned previously, like the rehearsal, I have just been smashing away.
Subscribe to the rehearsal?
We have, yeah. I think
okay.
So. Oh, guys, we're watching the rehearsal, all right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Nathan Fielder, one of my great comedic inspirations.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm obsessed with him.
But yeah, I'm playing Claire Obscure, so I'm gonna cheat and subscribe to that because
really not like filter coffee.
Oh, okay. If you really wanted a new one,
please
scratch that.
Please.
I am subscribing to porridge because I've been making porridge each morning, and it's kind of yum. It's a bit cold here. We're just about to actually. It's like first day of winter today.
Oh,
so hot
happy
breakfast
winter.
Is nice, and you can't get much better than some rolled oats, some liquid in a pan, some additives of your choice. I like some fresh berries, some chia seeds.
I'm not trying to out you, but I do think it's crazy because I've long been a porridge advocate, and you just okay. This
you push me to say a new one.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm just saying. Okay, this is. I would say I think it's very charming. This is one of my things that I think is really cute about you. Not that this is a relationship podcast, but sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, would you like some porridge?" And you're like, "No, thanks." And then one day you wake up and decide that you like porridge, and then you spout its virtues to me, and I'm like, "Don't cite the magic to me. I was there when it was written." I've been a porridge stan for like 10 years, and you're just being like, you heard about this breakfast?
Kind of never really saw you eat it.
What do you know? Are you kidding? I had an obsession with specifically the porridge from Pret, the UK chain.
Yeah, so we live in Australia.
But then I found they published the recipe for Pret porridge so I can recreate it at home. But I've had multiple porridge phases as we've been living together. And now you're like,
don't remember.
I swear. And you wake up before me, and I woke up one day and you're like, you know what's actually so good? Have you porridge? As if I've never. Anyway, sorry. I'm giving that meme of Angela from Smosh where she's like, I need to calm down.
Guys, for the record, I never disliked porridge. I just wasn't in my repertoire.
It's just. I'm like, I know you. You will like porridge. Like I couldn't understand why you weren't into porridge. It is all the things you like, and then you just. Anyway, it's fine.
Okay. That is episode 16.
I'm giving like a porridge hipster. I'm giving like...
You're gatekeeping porridge,
I'm not gatekeeping porridge.
You're like, you can't enjoy porridge until I say you can.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's like when you're trying to tell someone to watch a TV show for a long period of time, and then out of nowhere, they're like, oh my gosh, have you seen this TV show? And it's like, I've only been trying to get you to watch it for this long. That's kind of what it gives. And you've had that happen with me. I've done that, haven't I? No?
No,
you've surely had that experience with someone.
I would just be like, wow, I'm so happy that we can now bond over our shared experience of whether it be a TV show or porridge.
Well, admittedly, we don't make porridge the same way. That is actually also a core issue. I make my porridge and you think it's yum.
I think we leave porridge chat where it is for this week.
It's actually, we should start the porridge pod.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you produce that one. Thank you everyone for listening to this week's episode of Rewind Time. We will be back next week with another OG YouTuber. Thank you to everyone who's left us a rating or review. You can do that on your podcast platform of choice or on YouTube. We also have video episodes on Spotify.
Yeah, if you're not a YouTube fan, why are you listening to this podcast? But if you choose to watch your video podcast on Spotify, you can do that now.
Yippee.
Yippee.
Great. That's everything. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Ah, oh, that's hot. That's hot.